L'chaim, teure Chsidim, teure Brüder, Mishpaches, Anash in der ganzen Welt, L'chaim. We just saw We Want Mashiach Now by the Rebbe, that was Chavchas Tishrei, Tavshem Mem Aleph, a short little while after the Rebbe revolutionized the world with starting Tzivos Hashem. As children, we were always felt so special that the special yachas, the special attention that the Rebbe gives us children by the rallies, when all of the older people, the post-bar mitzvah, had to go on the side, or sometimes upstairs, and the Rebbe spoke to us, and the Rebbe picked up the children. It was something that the Rebbe gave us, each and every one, the feeling that we are taka, like Rabbi Kesselman said, the ahava, the love to Ben Yachid. We didn't have to imagine it, because each and every one of us felt the personal liebschaft, the personal love, and we feel and we know the personal love of the Rebbe to each and every one of us. So l'chaim, this love, this varmkeit, this connection is with us here. We feel it in the Zoom, we feel it in the whole world. L'chaim.
L'chaim v'duvrocha.
The Sicha, Chavches Nissen, those that were there and those that were since then, seen the Sicha hundreds of times and live with the Sicha, maybe on a personal, after the Sicha, there was a feeling at that time, there was not a feeling, at that time, the whole shul, everybody, all the Bachim that were there, started pashit from the whole heart to say, to scream, from the essence, to say atzmo. And there was a real rotzen at that moment by everybody that was present that Mashiach should mamish come, because nobody knew how to. No, we were never confronted with such a situation. At least for the young chavra, for the youngest. Rabbi Kesselman spoke about the early years. We wanted Mashiach should come at that moment, and we're sitting already for bringing 8 hours from around the world. And it could be the question has come up by somebody, by some of us, if that night, if that moment, if that true, deep desire of everybody present in 770 after the Sicha, that Mashiach should come, didn't bring Mashiach, how could we, each and every one of us in our place, wherever we are in the world, wherever we live, wherever our shlichus is, wherever Rebbe sent us, how could we bring Mashiach? That was the moment. And that was really a truthful ratzim, a truthful will and desire, every person, to bring Mashiach then. And how taka could we educate ourselves? Avedis atzmo, like Rav Willem started to verbringen much before he got on the Zoom today. How could we really ourselves bring ourselves, our children, our families, our communities, our friends, to taka live in a way, like Rabbi Kesselman was saying, that we know, that we want, that we recognize that Mashiach is coming now. So es kommt a verbringen that the Rebbe in Achren Shel Pesach, Tavshem Mem Ches, a few years earlier, was a very powerful verbringen. We remember the Rebbe at that verbringen. The Rebbe asked a question, which is a very yisaidistic question, and the Rebbe gave an explanation which really, if we live with it, gives us a whole different empowerment in the way we walk, in the way we talk, in the way we act, in the way we exist. The Rebbe asked a very basic question from the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that the Gemara says that Mashiach, though Mashiach will come, there will be another David. And the Rebbe says in the Sikha, and the Rebbe says, what do you mean there will be another David? How can we understand it? And the Gemara answers that just as you have a king, and the Gemara uses the word Caesar, you have a Kaiser, they say in German, a Kaiser, a king, Caesar, a Caesar. You can have a Palgi Caesar, and you can have a complete Caesar. Kesar upalgi Kesar. You can have a king, you can have a half a king. And David HaMelech was like a palgi Kesar, and Mashiach will be called a Kesar. So it's really one, but Mashiach will be the Vollkommenheit, the completion of David HaMelech. And the Rebbe goes on to ask the question, why are we using a Roman word to describe Mashiach? It's not a Yiddish word. There's enough times when Mashiach is described as a Melech, Melech HaMashiach. So why do we find that the Gemara describes Mashiach as a Kesar, as a Roman Kesar? It's not even a Yiddish Zach. So where does this idea come in that we're trying to describe Mashiach in the way of a Kesar, of a Roman word? And the Rebbe asked some other questions as well in that Sikha, but the main point was, why are we going to such a secular way, secular manner of expression to describe who Mashiach is? The Rebbe went on to give a beautiful, powerful explanation. And the Nekuda, one of the Nekudas that the Rebbe spoke then, where does the word Kesar come from? Caesar. Where does it come from? We know that about 130 years before the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, one of the Roman kings, Julius, he was called Julius Caesar, Julius Caesar. Rebbe says because the first time, how did the name Caesar come about? Rebbe says in the Sikha, because the first time one of the mothers of the kings had to give birth, and it couldn't be done in a natural way. So they had to have a yotzei doifen, and a special way of bringing the child out, that the child should be born in a not natural way. And for those that remember the Sikha and those that look in the Sefer HaSichas, you can see that Rabbi gives a whole explanation with the hashlachot, with the meanings that come from it, and it has different also halachic ramifications. But to stay in the Nekuda of the Sikha, Rabbi says that the whole idea of the way this child was born, this king was born, he was born in a way of breaking out, in a way of leadership, not in the normal way. And this idea is what Mashiach is. This is one of the points that the Rebbe spoke about. Another point that the Rebbe spoke about, that it's tafka not in a Hebrew language, in a secular language, because the idea of Mashiach is to change the world, that the world itself should be different. But I want to concentrate a moment on the first point. The idea of leadership. Nobody would doubt that one of the greatest taivas, one of the greatest favors, one of the greatest good things that the Rebbe did for every single person. The Rebbe made us. Who are we, B'chlal? We're not even a nothing. And the Rebbe picked us up with the Rebbe's unlimited love and empowered us. We don't deserve to be called the Rebbe's shluchim, the Rebbe's chassidim, the Rebbe's people. But the Rebbe chose us. Asher bachar banu. The Rebbe chose us. And the Rebbe said, you'll be my person. And when the Rebbe chose us, the Rebbe empowers us. The Rebbe empowers us to break the boundaries, to go out of who we are. And this is maybe one of the nekudas that the Rebbe demands from us when the Rebbe says, Tut als was ihr kennt. It's not about doing what we are asked to do. When we stood there the night of Chavchas Nissen, Thursday night, the Rebbe came back from the oil. It was a regular Thursday night. We were waiting for the Rebbe to come. Mincha Maidim. The Sikha started off. The first 8 minutes, the Sikha had Enu Niflois, Niflois had Enu. The day of the week, the day of the month, Chavches, Chavtes, Aleph, Beis. The first 8 minutes. When the end of the Sikha, the last 3 minutes, maybe the Rebbe is sharing with us and the Rebbe telling us, and now more than ever, that we shouldn't be doing it because the Rebbe wants us to do it. We stood there that night, we wanted Mashiach to come. Because the Rebbe wanted, the Rebbe wanted that we should want Mashiach should come. That's not what the Rebbe wants. The Rebbe wants that we should go in us we should find the leadership. Nobody will doubt. If you see a Yid, you're going in the airport, you see a Yid, you'll ask him to put on tefillin. No, it's not even a doubt for us. Anytime wherever we go, automatically we see a Yid, we want him to put on tefillin. We see someone, we speak about neshek. Because that's the way we are. That's the way the Rebbe wants you to be Aveda B'Koyach Atzmo, but that itself the Rebbe gives us. But when it comes to Mashiach, sometimes we feel, and so like the Mashpia Zalmarel used to say, I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself, but if you think I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to you also. So many times we want Mashiach because the Rebbe wanted to want Mashiach, but that's what the Rebbe was saying. And we screamed at Masai. We screamed at Masai because the Rebbe wanted that we should want Mashiach. But the Rebbe wants today that we should not only want Mashiach, but we should be like a Yotzei Dofen. We should go out. It should be a natural part of us. The same way no one's embarrassed by us. Not even one chassid in the world is embarrassed to say the Lubavitcher chassid of the Rebbe. No chassid is embarrassed to tell someone there's a Rebbe, put on tefillin, do mivtzayim, because the Rebbe made it to be part of our essence, and the Rebbe makes it to be part of our essence. But does wanting Mashiach, is that part of our essence? Is that something that we want because the Rebbe wants us to want? Even when we want it because we think we want it, because that's also the Rebbe. But the Rebbe wants it to be, like the Rebbe said in the Sikha of Achen Shal Pesach Mches, Mashiach breaks boundaries. It's a Yotzei Dofen. That's why Mashiach is called a Kesar. Because just like the child was born, he broke boundaries. He was born in a not natural way. The day after tomorrow, we're going to Hanover, Mitzvah Hashem, the Chanukas Habayis of Beis Binyamin, a shliach that exactly a year ago, a shliach that lived this Nekuda, Rabbi Benny Wolf, he lived the going out. And you could see that on the Mushpaim. You could see that on the people that come from Hanover. And you see the family that remained in Hanover is living Rebbe. And his living Rebbe, Aveda B'Koyach Atzmo, his living Rebbe, Yotzei Dofen, Miloshen Kesar. And that's Mashiach. There's another point, a second point, a very important point. We speak about leadership. I could say on a personal note, I was in Shlichus in Melbourne, I was in Shlichus in Melbourne, Australia, and over there, part of the Shlichus was also to give. There was a vada with the Lafot Sichis, and there was a certain time there where I was asked to take over the vada, and at that time I felt as a bacher, I need to sitzen, learning, and maybe you could start a bit, Shmiras Donim. But Payil, after speaking it over to Mashpia, I went ahead and I did it, and I could share on a personal note that there was a tkufa, we all write duchas to the Rebbe, and before I took upon myself the achrayus of going out of the Vad, there was a few months where I did not get any answers from the Rebbe on the duchas. But from the day I took over the achrayus on the Vad that time, there was not one duch I wrote that the Rebbe didn't give an answer. The Rebbe leapt. And if we live the way the Rebbe wants us to live, that means the Rebbe is living. And if we look at Achen Shal Pesach Mches, we see the Rebbe wants that the Nekuda of Mashiach has to be something that it has to be like a Yotzei Dofen. We have to break the boundaries. And the first boundary we have to break is our own. As the Rebbe hat uns lieb, and the Rebbe gives us the keiches, and whatever we do, we have to use the maximum keiches that the Rebbe gives us, but we have to know it's nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with us. If we think for a second it had a kesher with us, we missed the whole point. The Rebbe is doing everything. But the Rebbe wants that we should use the Yotzei Dofen, the Kesar, that we should use the Koyach, that we should use every possible way, every possible talent, every possible Koyach, every strength, everything that we could use according to the natural way, to use it in the maximum way. I know it's the Rebbe. A year ago, the president of Germany visited my house, and I was thinking beforehand, Kilu, the whole nakuda of this meeting is for sure to give over an from the Rebbe. It's not even a question. It was a klar azach, and I'm going to share with him also that he is the Mamala Makim, even though not directly Mamala Makim, but Yamach Shemei V'Zichrei 80 years ago, what was planned here. And today, the president of the country is coming zum Rebbe. He's coming to the Rebbe. So I sat with him down with a picture of the Rebbe, and I explained to him that the Rebbe was here 5 years in Berlin. And it was a time of the Rebbe's life which was not so known. But for those that know, the Rebbe was not mevater, a kihuzeh. The Rebbe walked every Shabbos, an hour and a half, passing 20 shuls, to daven a small little stiebel on Granitierstrasse, number 43. And why? The son of the Rebbe, that stiebel, told me years ago, 20-something years ago, when we came on shlichus. He said, in that shul, when the Rebbe came, the Rebbe didn't announce himself. The Rebbe just came there. The Rebbe came. Shabbos, the Rebbe got an aliyah. So he said, Bavor Sheyitin. During the week, the Rebbe came in to pay the money for the aliyah. He got a receipt, a kvittung. The Rebbe reviews the receipts at the end of the week. And he sees the name of the Rebbe's. So he tells the Gabbai, why didn't you tell me that the Einik of the Balatanya came? He says, I didn't know. He says, if he comes again, let me know. The next week, the Rebbe came again. He let him know. His name was Rav Rubin. And he started a relationship with the Rebbe. Years later, he came to the Rebbe. He wanted to ask the Rebbe. Part of it is in dollars. And he never asked. But he said to us what his father said to him. Why did the Rebbe daven there? The Rebbe daven there, he said, in that shul, they davened Nusachari. Now he's wanted to explain. He said it's like walking. The way the Rebbe walked was like walking from Crown Heights to Borough Park. And the Rebbe walked every Shabbos. No hoo-ha, no one was there, no one would have known. An hour and a half. It's a davening in Hashul Zachari. If we live with the Rebbe, if we live the way the Rebbe wants us to live, and at the same time use our own koiches, which the Rebbe gives us, Palgi Keser and Keser, the Beloshen Raimi, like the Rebbe says. We are in, every one of us, we're in the whole world, in the whole worldwide world, and each one of us in a different place. So the place where we are, that's the place where we're sent. That's where we're supposed to be. So we have to use the language. We have to use the place. We have to use the mentality. We have to use the around. We have to be in the place. We have to be invested in the place. But we have to know it's the Rebbe. This is what Keser is. The Rebbe says Mashiach will break the boundaries. Maybe that's the difference. That's the difference between Chavchas Nisan after the Sikha, when we screamed at Masai. But the Rebbe wanted us to scream at Masai. That's what we screamed at Masai. The Rebbe wants that we should want it. But we should know that we is the Rebbe. L'chaim. Teire Chsidim, Teire Brider. When this Farbrengen, which is already going on over 8 hours, when this Farbrengen, after 24 hours, will continue in a Farbrengen in each and every one of us. And we all speak about how nice it was, then it was nothing. This Farbrengen has to make a Shini Mohusi in us. Starting Yada Eine mit Bekoyach Atzmo. This Farbrengen, we have to know, number one, as the Rebbe leapt in us. And as the Rebbe lived us. The Rebbe loves you. And the Rebbe gives us koiches. And the whole world knows it, and the whole world sees it, and the whole world feels it, and the whole world. But sometimes we don't have enough of the courage and of the strength to break out that boundary. We're not convinced enough when it comes to Mashiach. We'll do it. When it comes to other things. When it comes to telling a Jew you're a Jew. When it comes to telling a Jew put on tefillin. But to come to tell a Yid, to speak to him about Mashiach, this is something which, I'm sure everyone in this Zoom is for sure convinced, and this is why you're up. If you're in America, or if in Europe, or in Australia, it's the day, or it's already the Shchedish. But this is maybe something, and this is it's not a Chiddush, we all know it, but if we live it ourselves, And if we live it ourselves, because the Rebbe wants us to live it ourselves, then we'll have seliknish by an andere. Then we'll have the courage in a real way to speak about it. When the Rebbe gave out in the Rebbe's house the Maimer Yud Aleph Nissen, Tav Shenun, was in the Rebbe's house. And afterwards it was a Farbrengen. And the Farbrengen was about the Farbrengen the year before, the Maimer, Tav Shem Tes, the Maimer that came out, the Yud Aleph Nissen, was B'yem Ashtei Yasa and Nasiv Malke. And there was Farbrengen upstairs in 770. And Moshe Shlanim, remember, was Farbrengen there. And he was speaking about the Gashmiyastike, Ahava, the physical love that the Rebbe has to us and that we have to the Rebbe. And I remember Gersh Mendel was also speaking about this a number of times, most recently at his 75th birthday Farbrengen in Milano, about the Gashmiyastike Ahava. If we know that whatever we are and whatever we are doing, it's not us. And the more we know it's not us, like the Rebbe says in the Likutei Sichos about Yosef, was an Ish Matzliach, and Ish Matzliach because he knew it's not him. The more we know it's not us, the more we contemplate that it's the Rebbe, and the Rebbe loves us, and the Rebbe is giving us. He's giving. And if we share this with people love it because people connected. We're not giving the people anything. We're just connecting the people. It's like taking the phone and connecting it to the source. We're connecting the people to the Rebbe. You see it when you bring someone to the aisle. You think, but have to tell him. You have to tell him. We took a group of people here to the aisle last year, right before the corona. And I was thinking with this, one of the people was the head of a big company, a very big company. I told him, we had a group of many people. I told some people, I'm just going into the mikveh for a second. He said, 1 second. I also want to go. I said, I wasn't sure. Afterwards, they went to the mikveh and they said, why are we trying to refrain from us having the proper achanas to go to the Rebbe? We want it also. I'm not making no suggestions over here. I just want to bring out the point that we have to give the people the direct connection to the Rebbe. And the same thing with Mashiach. The direct connection. So we have to finish off as the time is running out. So we have the moral of the story of Keser and Palgi, Keser, Acharish, Pesach, Tavshim, Ches, that we have to break the boundaries. How can we do it? Because the Rebbe is giving it to us. The Rebbe is giving it to us. And if we want Mashiach, not like Chavches Nissen, Tavshim, Nun Aleph, where after the Sikh we all screamed at Masay. If we want Mashiach, not because the Rebbe wants us that we should want Mashiach. We want Mashiach because the Rebbe wants it to be Aveda B'Kerech Atzmo, and at that time to know it's also the Rebbe. That will help. That will be a davar, dvarim hayetzim in alev, that will take, be mashpia, and will go into the lev. Like the Rebbe walked to send the Farbrengen in the earthen base, that Ot kommt rein, the Rebbe, the Shrein, sagt der Ugi, du shegidalti. So the Chaim, we should use this Farbrengen. That should be the Farbrengen will take us out of Golus. And the Rebbe B'rei Sheinu, we should go zusammen mit dem Rebbe to Mashiach, and we should use this Farbrengen as a stepping stone, as a catalyst, as a source of inspiration, Keser or Palgi Keser, to find new ways to break the boundaries. And it should be in a way that the Rebbe wants, that it should be Avei B'Kerech Atzmo. At the same time, we should know it's the Rebbe. L'chaim, Teire Chaverim, Teire Shluchim, Teire Chsidim, Teire Brider. Der Rebbe hat uns Leben begehen zusammen mit dem Rebbe. L'chaim.